Hello and welcome to Vancouver Carpenter. Today I'm going to be showing you how to install a basic casing around a door jamb. So what we're installing today is just 1/2 inch by 2.5 inch square stock. It's as easy as it gets. The things you will need: glue, a damp rag. I like to have one of these, a glazier's bar. I find it indispensable for installing moldings. And if you don't have one of those, you might be able to get away with a putty knife. Let's keep looking in the tool belt. Never hurts to have a knife, pencil, hammer, nail punch, tape measure. And of course you'll need some way to cut it, so a sliding miter saw or a miter box. But the last and possibly one of the most important tools for doing this job is this little tool. And I believe it's called a sliding T-bevel. Honestly, I can't remember. It's been a while since I was at carpentry school, but these are indispensable. So the first thing I need to do today is I need to plane this jamb down a little bit. It's sticking out at least 1/4 inch from the wall on this one side, and this casing is so small that if I don't plane it down, it's going to be really noticeable. We have the saying, a little caulk, a little paint makes a carpenter what he ain't. But in this case, it's going to make the molding look about 3/4 of an inch thin in the middle, and it'll be flat at the top of the jamb. I'll show you guys what I mean by that. So as we can see right here, it's sitting pretty flat. There's not a lot of wiggle, so that's good. But as we get down to this part of the casing, it's not sitting flat. And so if I nail it against the wall, then I've got a really large gap right here. And if I nail it against just the jamb, then I've got a large gap at the back, which is typically how I would do it if I wasn't going to shave the jamb down. So I don't actually expect that most of you folks at home are going to go to that length to get your casing sitting so flush. The reason I've gone to that length is this is right at the front entry. So this is the first door they see when they walk in, and I just want to make sure that when they're walking in and out of their place every day, they're not just looking at poor work. But we don't always do this on every door jamb and every window casing. That would be totally excessive. So now the first thing you're going to want to do is get this tool, and you're going to want to set this for 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch is your standard reveal for door casings. So there's a little line right here, and I've got this thing. This is how it tightens and loosens, and I've got it tightened right down so I'm at 1/4 inch. And if your tool is proper, what it should do is you should be able to put it like so, slide it right there, and you're going to make a mark on both sides. Right here. Like so. You can see that right there. So if you have a good one of these, this top part is already going to be 1/4 inch. So if you set it at exactly 1/4 inch on this side too, then you can just mark both sides. You don't have to go like this and then like this. You'll be able to just mark that and that. But check your tool to make sure you can do that. So next I'm going to mark the other corner as well. Now, if you're experienced, this is all I do, is I mark the 2 corners. But if you're new to this, you're also going to want to have at least 1 mark in the middle. Next, you're going to want to have at least 1 mark in the middle and 1 mark down at the bottom. Again, I skip this step because I can eyeball the reveal all the way down, but I've got lots of experience. If you're new to this, you're going to want those lines as guides because you're not going to be able to eyeball 1/4 inch easily. So first what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut these to about 7 feet. I know these 2 pieces are 8 feet long. They're from a value pack. So we're going to cut a bit less than 1 foot off. So I'm going to take my cut end, and there's a reason I did this. One is because a lot of the time the cut ends from those value packs aren't very nice, or trim in general. You're always going to want to make a nice square cut on the bottom. So I'm now going to carry these over here. Try not to trip over my vacuum. Next, I'm going to have a not safety approved bucket to stand on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just, instead of measuring from the floor up with a tape measure, what I'm doing is I'm making sure these are pressed down against the bottom there, and I'm just going to eyeball my mark and mark like this. And it's more accurate than measuring from the floor, although you can do either way. And I'll often put a little mark like this so I know which way my miter goes. that one. So I've got my line right here and I know which way I need to turn my saw. 45 degrees. And now I'm going to be eyeballing, come right up close. And now I'm going to be cutting on my line, 45 degrees. I got to inch it over a little bit with my thumb. A little bit more. Got to make sure it's held firmly against the fence or it's not going to be 45 degrees. So I've got my other piece. Flip it back the other way to 45. So I don't always do the cut incrementally. When you've been doing this for a while, you can actually just eyeball the mark the first try. Okay, so I'm going to put my piece on the ground and see if I made it to my line. Yeah, it's good. And if it's a tiny bit low, you can always lift it up a tiny bit, but generally that's good. So now I'm going to make sure that it's fairly even on my lines going down before I put the first nail in. First nail is going to go right here. And now this is important, which way you hold your gun. So if I go this way, because of the chisel point of the tips of the brad nails, they can go through the grain and split out that way. So here's how you have to think about it. And if you were a child of the 90s and you watched 90s sort of rap gangster videos, this is gonna help you remember it. When you're going down your casing, it's gangster style, like in those old videos. They always hold the guns like this. So that's it. And now I'm gonna go down to my second mark right here. Double. And down here. And I know it's pretty flush with my wall. Next, I'm going to do the other one, exact same thing, wash, rinse, repeat. Okay, I've checked it again, lined it up. I do my middle. There it is. And I leave this one off now because I can then adjust my miter. So we'll get to that. So I just so happen to have a piece on the ground that I know has a perfect 45 on it. I'm gonna go bring it over here. Okay, so I'm gonna line up this joint perfectly. Make sure the edge of that lines up with the edge of that. And now I'm gonna eyeball this mark right here. And if you're worried about it, cut it a little bit long because you can always trim more off. 45, go 45 again. Now I often cut these a little bit long, and there's a reason for that. Okay, let's see how this goes. Oh, we got lucky. We got lucky. It's perfect on 45 the first try. Sometimes the legs of your door jamb are not plumb, and that's going to make two 45s not line up, so it'll be open. So if you cut your top header piece long on purpose, what you can do is you can see if you need to either shave a little off this end or if you need to shave a bit off that end. But in this case, I remember installing this jamb and I installed it plumb, so 45 works on both sides. Okay, so I've got my gun ready. I've got my wet rag ready. Got my glue. So I'm gonna put some on there. Some on there. Now some people would say that's just fine and it's enough, but I like to put just a little bit more on the ends. And I also like to just quickly go like that to make sure it's actually spread on the whole joint. Just one of those little habits I do that helps it be a little more consistently spread. A lot of people won't do that, but it's what I like to do. I'm gonna line it up. I'm gonna make sure it's perfectly centered right here by looking at these 2 points. Point A, point B, and if both of those look good, and it can be a bit hard to see from the glue spill out, but if it looks good, then I nail this part first. And I'll nail this one. And a couple here. One there. One there. We'll wait for our noisy compressor to stop making so much noise. So now's the point where we start fussing with the miter, because if we just nail it away, it might not be flush. But in this case, it actually looks like, because I did my due diligence and made sure the wall was flat, it looks like if I just nail it, it's going to be pretty darn good. Although, it's a little bit proud. So, I'm going to put my glazier's bar behind there. And I'm going to make sure that I am not nailing into the bar. And I know that there's wood behind the wall going across here. I know there's wood in the wall going across here. So one nail there, one nail there. This is nice and flush. Although it could use a tiny bit of tuning up. And this is where a flat-faced finishing hammer comes in. Okay, that is nice and flush. Pull this out. Clean it off. That's a nice pretty miter. Now quickly, let's get to the next side. So this one is actually really nice and flush with the wall, the jamb is, so I have the good fortune of being able to just nail it. Now, don't ever do this. I've got 2-inch nails in my nail gun, and if it hits something, it'll come out to my hand. So, I'm gonna keep my hand far away. Gotta think, how long are my fasteners, and how far away is my hand from where the fastener could come out? I'm gonna use, again, this to just clean that little bit of glue out there, because that's no fun for the painters. And this one could use one more nail right here, and that alone pulled it up flush. So it's looking really good now, ready for paint. But one last thing I haven't done, and I haven't nailed a few more nails across the top of here. And I've done that to stop it from sucking in too much and opening up this joint right here. That's how you make pretty miters on your casings. Okay, so that is my method for getting real nice miters. And I use this because I use this to be able to get in behind and tweak it and close up the miters while I'm nailing them up. But anyways, I hope with these tips you're able to get some really nice casings on your doors. And just remember, the leg going down, all gangster. Thanks for watching Vancouver Carpenter. I'll see you in the next video.